Section 1. The Nuppeppō, the Flesh That Walks. Introduction. A monster in the shadows of Edo. In the narrow backstreets of old Edo, before Tokyo became a sprawling metropolis of steel and neon, whispers drifted through sake houses and shadowed temples. Whispers of something obscene. A creature of rotting flesh, human in shape, yet grotesquely formless, sliding through alleys on nights when the moon was pale and thin. This creature had no face, no eyes to weep, no lips to speak, but it reeked of death and corruption, carrying the smell of a battlefield long forgotten. They called it Nuppeppō, a name as strange and shapeless as the thing itself. Some said it was the animated remains of corpses. Others claimed it was the punishment of gluttony incarnate, wandering eternally as a mass of putrid meat. For centuries, sightings remained buried in temple scrolls and the margins of yokai compendiums, oddities for scholars, curiosities for collectors. But something changed. Modern Tokyo has seen its own whispers. In abandoned districts, under the flickering neon haze, new stories have emerged, and we followed them. Eyewitness account number 1, The Alley. Interview date, March 14, 2019. Subject, Takahiro S. Name changed. Occupation, taxi driver, Tokyo. Location, Kabukicho, Shinjuku Ward. It was a little after 2 in the morning. I just dropped a fare near the station, and I needed a smoke. You know those little backstreets where the old love hotels sit? I went in there, empty, silent. I lit my cigarette. The wind carried this smell, like rotting fish but heavier, like sweet meat going bad. I thought maybe a garbage bag ripped open. Then I saw something move, slow, like a drunk man dragging himself along the wall. But it didn't sound right. There was no shuffle of feet, just a wet sound, like raw meat slapping on stone. The streetlight hit it and, Jesus Christ, it wasn't a man. It was a lump of flesh, taller than me, swaying like it didn't know how to stand. No face, just folds of skin, like melted wax. But I swear something under it was breathing. I couldn't move. Stopped like it knew I was there. The folds shifted, and for a second, I saw something like a mouth open, and it smiled. I ran. I ran so fast I left the cab unlocked. Takahiro refused to return to that area for weeks. He later quit night shifts entirely. Historical origins. The Nuppeppō first appears in Edo period scrolls, such as Gazu Hayaki Yagyo by Toriyama Sekian, 1776. In these illustrations, it is depicted as a faceless, swollen humanoid, its skin drooping like melted tallow. Folklore claims it prowls deserted streets at night, especially near temples or graveyards, drawn by spiritual impurity. Legends insist the creature emits a stench so foul it can sicken men at a distance. Yet ironically, its flesh is said to grant longevity if eaten, a grotesque temptation embedded in its myth. Priests warned of its presence as a harbinger of plague or disaster. But the strangest part? Scrolls describe its movement as slow, lumbering, yet deliberate. Never rushed, never frantic. A thing that knows it has time. Eyewitness account number 2. The vending machine camera. Incident date, July 22, 2020. Source, recovered security footage, convenience store alley, Sujinami Ward. The footage, confiscated after going viral on Japanese message boards, shows an empty alley between 2 shuttered stores. A vending machine glows dim blue. At 3:11 a.m., motion triggers the camera. First, nothing but static flicker. Then, a shadow slides into frame from the far left. Not walking, sliding, as if gravity reluctantly allows its weight to shift. The figure is hunched, swollen, featureless. Its limbs are indistinct, if they exist at all. The flesh glistens under the fluorescent light, as though wet. At 3:13 a.m., the vending machine light dims. The creature stops. Its folds seem to pulse, contracting rhythmically. The camera crackles. One frame reveals a cavity opening in its chest, like lips trying to form words. Then darkness. When power returns at 3:16 a.m., the alley is empty. The machine, dented inward, its metal warped like it had been gripped by something soft and unyielding. Theories. What is it? Hypothesis number 1. Spiritual punishment. Japanese folklore often ties yokai to moral failings. Some scholars suggest Nuppeppō is a spirit formed from gluttony and vanity, doomed to wander as rotting flesh, embodying the decay it once ignored. Hypothesis number 2. Wartime horror. A fringe theory claims the Nuppeppō is the psychic residue of war dead, fused by trauma. Tokyo's World War II firebombings killed over 100,000 in a single night. Some allege that clusters of sightings align with old bombing maps. Hypothesis number 3. Biological mutant. Conspiracy forums suggest Nuppeppō could be a mutagenic survivor, a failed experiment from post-war bioweapons research. The Tokyo subway network, vast, unmapped in places, features in countless rumors of things moving below. The smell that carries death. In every case, the stench appears first. Survivors describe it as sweet rot, decay mixed with perfume, or the smell of a butcher's floor left for weeks. Forensics experts consulted for this report noted the odor is consistent with necrotic tissue mixed with ammonia compounds, suggesting active decomposition, even though no organic remains have been recovered after sightings. Recent surge in sightings. In 2022 alone, Japanese paranormal forums logged 19 alleged encounters, the highest in decades. Patterns emerged, always near abandoned districts, especially those slated for redevelopment. Typically after midnight, between 2 to 4 a.m. Victims report electrical interference, flickering lights, dead phone batteries. Urban explorers hunting these locations often disappear from threads after promising evidence. One case, username Caden_King, posted, "Heading to the old slaughterhouse in Koto Ward. Smell is insane already. If I don't post in an hour, send prayers." He never posted again. Eyewitness account number 3, the train tunnel. Interview date, October 3, 2022. Subject, Ayaka M. Urban explorer. Location, abandoned tunnel, Chichibu region. We were filming for our channel. I smelled it first, thought maybe an animal carcass. But then, something scraped the tunnel wall, like skin dragging concrete. Our lights hit it. Jesus, it looked like someone had melted, like a candle that grew arms. It had no eyes, but it was looking at us. I could feel it, like my stomach dropped into ice water. Then it moved, not fast, but the sound, that wet, sticky sound. We ran. But as we turned the corner, I swear, it was right behind us. And I don't know how. There's no way something that slow. We dropped the camera. Just left it. When we checked the footage later, it's just black static for 20 minutes. Then a frame, just one frame, something pressed against the lens, like a cheek, or something pretending to be one. Aika's voice broke here. She refused further questions. Closing, a shape without end. The Nuppeppō remains unclassified, officially dismissed as urban legend. Yet its persistence in culture and in modern reports raises questions. If it is a yokai, why does it adapt to modern landscapes? If it is flesh, how does it persist for centuries without decay? Why does it smile when seen? We reached out to a Tokyo paranormal researcher who left us with this warning. You don't find the Nuppeppō, it finds you, and when it does, it doesn't need to chase, because you'll carry its image in your mind forever. And that's how it feeds. Last month, a city worker in Setagaya Ward reported a foul odor in a construction zone. His note ended with, "There was something in the scaffold shadows. I thought it waved." He never came back to work. Section 2. The Papanajuari, the red-eyed hunter of the sick. Introduction, the vampire of the north. On the Tiwi Islands, just north of Australia's Northern Territory, the salt winds carry stories older than colonial maps. Stories that live in the breath of elders, in songs carved into bark, in whispers traded around fires under skies heavy with stars. One name stands out among them, Papanajuari, the hunter who walks between worlds, feeding on the dying. Unlike many creatures confined to fable, the Papanajuari is a being of intimate terror, a monster drawn not to darkness, but to weakness. According to Tiwi lore, it stalks those near death, drinking life at its source. Not the blood as European vampires would, but the moisture of the body, the essence of vitality. The Tiwi describe him as a giant, with red eyes that burn like embers, long arms, and a body that can stretch impossibly thin to seep through cracks in walls. He carries a hollow bamboo tube, a weapon and a straw, through which he siphons the breath of the dying. For centuries, this was myth, a warning to the sick not to wander from their huts at night. But recent accounts, paired with strange disappearances in remote communities, suggest the old songs might have teeth. First contact, the missionary journals. Our investigation began with an obscure reference buried in a Catholic mission report from 1913, archived in Darwin. The natives speak of a giant with eyes of fire that comes for the fevered and the frail. One elder insisted we keep lanterns burning, for the beast drinks life in the dark. Their terror was sincere. 2 consumptives passed in the night without a sound. The missionary never named the creature, but cross-referencing Tiwi oral traditions leaves no doubt. Papanajuwari. Eyewitness account number 1, The Red Glow. Interview date, August 4, 2007. Subject, Rory K. Bush pilot. Location, Bathurst Island. I'd flown medevac runs for years. That night we were pulling a fever case out, bad pneumonia. Remote hut, deep bush. We landed near midnight. No power out there, just moonlight and shadows. While loading the patient, I noticed something. At first I thought it was fireflies. Then I realized 2 points of red light, about 20 meters away, low to the ground. I figured it was an animal, maybe wallaby eyes catching the light. But then, they rose, higher and higher, 8 feet at least, and they didn't blink. They just burned steady as coals. The patient started gasping, like his lungs collapsed. Our medic yelled for oxygen. And that's when the red lights moved closer, slow, gliding between the trees without a sound. I swear I saw arms too long for a man and something thin in its hand. We got him in the plane and took off. I didn't look back, but as the props spun up, I heard this sound, like a hollow whistle, through bamboo. The patient died en route. Rory quit medevac flights a year later. The bamboo tube. Tiwi songs describe the Papanajuwari's tool as a hollow cane spear, both weapon and feeding straw. Through it, the giant pierces flesh and drains life, not blood but essence. Victims are said to shrivel, their eyes sinking, lips cracked, as if death by desert thirst. Anthropologist G. Basedow noted in his 1925 field notes, bodies of the fevered dead appear unnaturally desiccated, their skin tight, as though life had been drawn out in some hidden process. Colonial doctors blamed tropical disease. The Tiwi whispered another cause. Modern theories. Theory 1, myth as metaphor. Many dismiss the Papanajuwari as a spiritual warning, a personification of wasting sickness like tuberculosis or influenza, which ravaged the islands after contact with Europeans. Theory 2, cryptid survivor. Others argue something tangible lingers in the jungles. A nocturnal predator unknown to science, using bioluminescent eyes and extreme stealth. Skeptics scoff until they hear the recordings. Audio evidence. Local ranger Henry Pirukupoli shared a recording captured on a remote sensor in 2018. The file, analyzed in Darwin University's Sound Lab, contains 3 distinct elements. A low, rhythmic thump, like distant footsteps. A hollow, flute-like whistle, variable in pitch, unidentifiable by known fauna. A final sound, subaudible at first, described by analysts as a breath being drawn through a narrow tube. When we played the audio for an elder, he would not speak until the recorder was switched off. Then he whispered, "That is him. That is how he calls the soul out." Eyewitness account number 2, The Fever Hut. Interview date, November 12, 2019. Subject, Liam P., volunteer nurse. Location, Melville Island. The old woman was septic, bad case. We set up a drip, tried to stabilize her. She kept muttering something. "Don't let him in. Don't let him drink." Around 3 a.m., the power went out. Total black. I grabbed my torch. And in that silence, God, I heard breathing. Not labored. Not hers. Something outside. I checked the door slats, thought maybe a dog. Then I saw it. A face pressed to the gap. But not a man's face. Red eyes glowing, skin like ash, and teeth too long. Then this cane thing slid through the crack. A hollow stick. It reached for her arm. I slammed the door, locked it, prayed for dawn. When the sun came, she was gone. Just gone. No tracks, no struggle. Just the drip still swinging. Liam left the island 2 days later. Behavior patterns. Targets. The dying, the fevered, the weak, especially at night. Method. Silent approach. Entry through gaps. Drains life moisture via bamboo straw. Signs. Sudden desiccation of corpses. Red glow in the bush. Hollow whistling sound. Habitat. Dense jungle, coastal swamp. Tiwi say it moves between worlds, vanishing when pursued. Disappearance clusters. Between 2005 and 2020, 14 unexplained vanishings occurred among elderly or infirm residents in remote Tiwi settlements. Police report sight crocodiles or disorientation. Locals whisper otherwise. One ranger's confidential note, leaked in 2021, reads, "Found prints near the mangroves. Too big for any man. Stride is wrong. Something else out here." Closing, when breath is the bait. Elders warn. When sickness comes, keep fires lit and gaps sealed. Because the Papanijuari hunts not for sport, but for inevitability. It waits for weakness. One last testimony comes from Father Raymond, a missionary who served in 1964. His journal, found after his death, ends with this entry. "I am fevered now. The lanterns flicker. I see the red glow through the trees. He is patient. He will drink." The page ends in a long, black smear. And still, today, under the blood-red sunsets of the Tiwi Islands, people vanish. And in the darkness, a whistle drifts through the mangroves. Thin, hollow, hungry. Section 3. The Kishi, the Demon with Two Faces. Introduction. The smile that lies. Deep in the heart of Angola's forests, where the night air hangs heavy with the scent of damp earth and cicadas, stories linger like shadows that never quite leave. Among the most enduring of these stories is the legend of the Kishi. A shapeshifter, a deceiver, a predator in the truest sense. The name carries weight in whispers. The Kishi is said to possess two faces, one that charms and one that devours. In front, the visage of a man, handsome, smooth-tongued, smiling. Behind, hidden until the moment of truth, a snarling hyena's maw, teeth yellow and curved like sickles, hungry for human flesh. For generations, the Kishi has stalked Angolan folklore as a warning. Beware the sweet words of strangers, for they may hide fangs. But in the last decade, tales once confined to the firelight have found their way into police reports, missing person bulletins, and digital rumors that refuse to die. Origins in the old songs. Oral traditions paint the Kishi as a demon born from chaos, gifted by spirits with cunning and cruelty. It lures its prey, most often women, with the promise of affection, safety, or wealth. The front face smiles, speaks in honeyed tones. The back waits in silence. When the victim is alone, when trust blossoms, the head turns, or the whole body bends backward, and the second face awakens. Then comes the sound. Bones cracking, muscles twisting, jaws opening wide enough to split the night. Elders in Melange province tell it plain. He wears a man like a mask. The beast beneath is real. Case file number 1. The Vanished Bride. Date March 11, 2014. Location outskirts of Wambo. Source: unofficial transcript, local police interview. The case concerned a woman named Selena, last seen leaving her family home after telling friends she was eloping with a man she met at the marketplace. He was described as tall, handsome, with a silver tongue. They had spoken for weeks, always at dusk. When Selena disappeared, search parties scoured the nearby forests. What they found chilled even hardened officers. scraps of clothing torn in long, uneven strips, as though shredded, not cut, and a trail of deep impressions in the soil, shaped like hands and paws together, alternating, as if something crawled and walked in the same motion. The official report blamed bandits. Unofficially, the case file was marked with a single word, Kishi. Eyewitness account number 1, The Man with Two Shadows. Interview date, June 6, 2016. Subject, Dona F. Subsistence farmer. Location, near Kangandala National Park. I saw him by the well, a stranger smiling. He spoke soft, said he traveled from the north, looking for work. His voice was sweet like a song, but something was wrong. The way the sun fell, he cast two shadows. One upright, one hunched, moving like it had its own mind. I went inside, locked the door. Later, I heard laughter outside my window. Not a man's laughter. A hyena, low and broken, and then something scratching at the walls, high up, like claws. She left her home that week, moved inland to live with family. The well remains abandoned. Anatomy of a predator. Descriptions of the Kishi vary, but certain traits recur. Two faces, human in front, hyena in back. Some say the second face emerges only at the kill. Dual voice. Victims report hearing laughter behind them even when the man smiles before them. Prey preference. Women traveling alone, often near forest edges or water sources. Feeding method. Teeth marks consistent with hyena dentition. Powerful enough to crush bone. Modern biologists scoff at the notion. Yet hyenas do not climb walls, nor do they whisper your name before they eat you. Case file number 2. The bus stop incident. Date, September 2, 2019. Source, social media post, later deleted. A university student posted a frantic series of updates one night. Waiting for the bus. This guy keeps smiling at me. Cute though. He says he lives near the old mission road. Keeps asking if I want to walk with him instead. Weird thing, heard laughing behind me but no one there. LOL. The final post read, OMG his neck just. The account went silent. Her body was never found. Screenshots of the thread spread across Angolan Twitter before vanishing. Some claim a blurred photo attached to the third post shows eyes glowing behind her shoulder, though skeptics dismiss it as pareidolia. The hyena motif. Why a hyena? In Bantu cosmology, the hyena often symbolizes chaos, treachery, hunger without end. The Kishi is hunger personified, a lover that turns into a butcher. Elders teach young women, if a man charms too sweet, look at his back before you follow. But what happens when that warning isn't metaphor, but survival advice? Interview local hunter. We spoke with Mateus, a hunter who claims he tracked something near the Congo River in 2021. It walked like a man but left prints like two animals. At night, I heard voices, one gentle, one laughing, from the same mouth. I followed the trail to a clearing. Found bones. Human. Cracked open, hollow like straws sucked them dry. When I left, I felt it behind me. I never ran so fast in my life. Mateus no longer hunts alone. Modern disappearances. Between 2010 and 2022, 27 women vanished in Angola's rural provinces under circumstances locals attribute to the Kishi. Official explanations cite trafficking or wild animals. Yet patterns persist. Victims last seen at dusk, speaking with a stranger. No ransom demands, no remains, except occasional gnawed bones in deep bush. Reports of hyena laughter where no hyenas live. Behavioral theory. If the Kishi exists as flesh, not spirit, how does it hide? Some cryptozoologists speculate. A rare, undiscovered primate-hyena hybrid? Implausible, but the jaw power described matches a spotted hyena. A shapeshifter or possessed human. Too many witnesses speak of normal conversation before the kill. An opportunistic mimic? Could the laughter be a trick, like a predator mimicking voices to lure prey? But how does that explain the two faces? Eyewitness account number 2, the backward smile. Interview date, February 2022. Subject, unnamed survivor. identity withheld. Condition: severe trauma, relocated under police protection. Her words, translated: he was kind, said he would walk me home. When the road darkened, he asked for a kiss. I closed my eyes. Then I heard it, the sound of teeth grinding. From behind me, when I opened them, his head had turned backward. Or something. Another mouth. Another face. Laughing like a hyena. I ran. I don't remember how. I just ran. The doctors say her palms were flayed from tearing through thorn scrub. She refuses to look at mirrors. Closing, the lover and the beast. The Kishi legend persists because it strikes at something primal. The fear that what desires us may also destroy us. In the forests of Angola, that fear might be more than symbolic. One last line, from an Angolan folktale recorded in 1978. He will smile with one face and feast with the other. And when the night is deep, you will not know which one you love. Even now, travelers near Melange whisper of a man with a smile too perfect, and the faint sound of laughter drifting from behind his neck. Section 4. The Enfield Horror, the Three-Legged Nightmare of Illinois. Introduction. A town under siege. In April 1973, the quiet farming town of Enfield, Illinois became the epicenter of one of the most bizarre cryptid cases in American history. For 3 weeks, a string of sightings and unexplained attacks transformed the sleepy community into a cauldron of fear and shotgun vigilantes. They called it the Enfield Horror. A creature so strange it defied all logic. 3 legs, short arms with claws, eyes like flashlights in the dark, and a screech that froze blood cold. It wasn't just the anatomy that unsettled witnesses. It was the way it moved. Hopping, bounding, sometimes crawling on all fours, always faster than anything that size had a right to be. What began as one man's nightmare spread into mass hysteria. And half a century later, the question lingers. What stalked Enfield that spring? The first encounter, Henry McDaniel. Date: April 25, 1973. Location: rural Enfield. Henry McDaniel returned home late that night to find his children trembling in terror. They insisted something had tried to break in through the air conditioner vent. Moments later, McDaniel himself heard scratching at the door. When he yanked it open, shotgun in hand, he saw it. It had 3 legs, grayish, short body, 2 little arms coming out of its chest, and eyes pink like flashlights. It stood about 4.5 feet tall. McDaniel fired twice. The thing emitted a hiss like a wildcat, bounded away 50 feet in 3 jumps, and vanished into the woods. When police arrived, they found tracks in the dirt, dog-like with 6 toe pads, yet arranged in a way no natural animal walks. Eyewitness account number 1. The thing at the window. Interview. Local boy, age 10, archival tape, 1973. It was looking in, face pressed to the glass. Its eyes were big and pink and shining. Then it grinned like it had too many teeth. When Daddy came, it crawled like a bug. Fast, fast. That house still stands. The window frame bears deep scratches, rusted now but still there. Escalation and panic. After McDaniel's report hit local papers, chaos erupted. Dozens of armed men swarmed the woods. Shots rang through the night. But the creature didn't die, it multiplied. At least, that's what people believed. On April 27th, a group of 5 hunters claimed to corner it near an abandoned house. Their story: it crouched low, hissed, then leapt into the trees like a monkey. Gone before we could shoot again. Another farmer reported livestock mutilations. Goats with puncture wounds, organs missing. No blood at the scene. Behavior and traits. Witness descriptions compiled. Height: 4 to 5 feet. Skin: gray, wrinkled, almost reptilian. Limbs: 3 powerful legs for leaping, 2 small arms ending in claws. Eyes: glowing pink or red under light. Movement: leaps up to 50 feet, crawls insect-like when threatened. Sound: hissing, sometimes a screech compared to a baby crying through metal. Theories then and now. Mutant kangaroo? Dismissed by experts. Illinois has no wild kangaroos, and the arms don't match. Escaped exotic pet? But no zoo or circus reported losses. Extraterrestrial? The UFO flap of the 1970s fueled speculation. McDaniel himself believed it wasn't from this Earth. Mass hysteria? Possible, but the tracks and claw marks suggest otherwise. Modern sightings. The horror vanished after May 1973, or so the story goes. But in 2000, a trucker reported something near Route 45, leaping across the highway like a gray grasshopper with arms. In 2018, a hunter posted grainy thermal footage online. A hunched figure with 3 heat signatures where legs should be. The video was deleted within 48 hours. Locals say if you walk the woods on a hot April night, you might hear it hiss. And if you see 2 pink lights shining back at you, don't wait for the 3rd jump. Section 5. The Loveland Frogman, the Thing with the Wand. Introduction. Amphibian in the dark. On a humid night in 1955, 2 businessmen drove along a lonely stretch of road outside Loveland, Ohio, when their headlights swept across something that shattered their understanding of nature. Standing on 2 legs by the guardrail was a frog-like creature, humanoid in posture yet unmistakably amphibian. Leathery skin, bulging eyes, and in its hand, a wand emitting sparks of light. The men sped away, hearts pounding. They had no name for what they saw, but the newspapers soon would. The Loveland Frogman. For decades, this bizarre cryptid has lurked on the fringes of Ohio folklore. Skeptics scoff, believers insist, and in the shadows of the Little Miami River, the stories keep coming. The original reports. Witness number 1, businessman statement, 1955. It was about 3 to 4 feet tall, grayish, with textured skin like a frog or lizard. It held a stick, maybe 2 feet long, and sparks flew from the tip. A second sighting the same night described 3 creatures together, as if conferring in secret. The wand phenomenon. What makes the frogman unique is the wand, described as a metal rod or branch that emitted showers of sparks. Early speculation framed it as ritual magic. Later, fringe theorists claimed it was a tool or weapon, hinting at an intelligence far beyond mere animals. Police encounter, 1972. Officer Ray Shockey was on patrol near Loveland when something darted across the road. At first I thought it was a dog, but then it stood up, 2 legs, looked at me, as like golf balls. Then it leapt over the guardrail into the river. 2 weeks later, another officer corroborated the sighting. Both men swore under oath to what they saw. Eyewitness account number 1, the bridge lights. Interview date, July 2016. Subject, Evan T., fisherman. Location, Loveland Bike Trail Bridge. I was fishing under the bridge, about 2 a.m. Heard splashing. Thought it was a beaver. Then I saw, Christ, a shape standing on the rocks. Tall, hunched, skin slick. It raised its arm and this light, like sparks, flared for a second. Then nothing. I left my gear. Didn't even look back. Behavior patterns. Height, 3 to 4 feet. Appearance, amphibian humanoid, leathery skin, wide mouth. Habitat, rivers, drainage tunnels, swampy areas. Activity, nocturnal, often near water, associated with brief light phenomena. Temperament, avoidant, flees when spotted. Modern encounters. Since 2010, hikers along the Little Miami Trail have reported glowing eyes near culverts. In 2020, a viral TikTok clip showed a hunched figure in shallow water clutching something metallic. Video vanished after platform removal for graphic content. An urban explorer we interviewed claims he found strange burn marks on concrete deep in a storm drain, as if scorched by electrical discharge. What is the wand? Theories abound. Electrical discharge from a battery-powered tool. Bioluminescent secretion ignited chemically. Technology from something not of this world. Whatever it was, the detail is consistent across decades. Witnesses don't forget the sparks. Closing, the last blink. The frogman is neither feral nor friendly. It watches, acts with purpose, and carries a tool no animal should wield. And that may be the most chilling fact of all. Last summer, a camper reported a sound at the riverbank, a wet slap, then a metallic click. His final photo, timestamped 2:14 a.m., shows two glints in the dark and something curved, like a rod, catching the flash. Then his phone died. Section 6. Tikbalang, the demon horse of the Philippines. The whispering canopy. The jungle of the Philippines hums with life. A chorus of cicadas, the rustle of unseen reptiles, and the endless drone of heat pressing down on human bones. But when night falls, the forest changes. The sounds dampen, shadows lengthen, and somewhere, amid the trees, something waits. They call it Tikbalang, half man, half beast. A towering figure with the head of a horse, elongated limbs like broken branches, and hooves that crush the earth. Its mane shimmers like wet tar in the moonlight, and its eyes, always glowing, always watching, burn with a hunger older than the jungle itself. The elders say that when the mist rolls low and the trails twist in ways you don't remember, the Tikbalang is near. It delights in leading travelers astray, luring them deeper into the labyrinth of roots and vines until panic settles in and despair follows close behind. But this is not just a creature of mischief. This is a predator with a cruel sense of play, a thing that doesn't just kill. It breaks you first, warping your sense of reality until you don't know if the path home ever existed at all. 2. The folklore and the fear. For centuries, the Tikbalang has haunted the oral traditions of Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Stories vary, but certain threads remain constant. It is gigantic, with limbs so long its knees rise above its head when squatting. Its laugh echoes through the trees, a sound like breaking wood and braying madness. It guards sacred groves, mountain passes, and old roads, areas where travelers most often vanish. It is said that a blessed talisman or turning your shirt inside out may break its enchantment, but those who meet it rarely return to test the advice. Spanish colonizers documented the Tikbalang as early as the 16th century, calling it a demon of the wilderness. A thing neither holy animal nor spirit, but something far worse. A remnant of pagan gods, cast down to roam the jungles forever. But is it just a myth, a boogeyman for children? Or is there something darker in these forests? Something that stalks the lonely roads even now? 3. A Hunter's Tale, 1972. The account comes from Miguel Arriaga, a seasoned hunter from Nueva Ecija, recorded in 1972. His voice, captured on an old cassette, trembles, not with age, but with the memory of something he cannot explain. "We were 3 men," he begins, the sound of cicadas buzzing faintly behind his words. "I knew these woods like the lines on my own hand. I could track a boar in the dark. But that night, something was wrong. They had been following a wounded stag when the mist rolled in without warning, drowning the path in white. The forest fell eerily silent. Even the frogs stopped calling. Then they heard it, a laugh, low, hoarse, echoing through the trees like a broken windpipe. Ramiro said it was a man," Miguel recalls. "But I knew no man with a voice like that. It was too heavy, too long, like it didn't care if we heard it." The men pressed on, but the trail wound into places Miguel didn't recognize. The trees leaned differently. The air smelled of rot and iron, and Ramiro swore he saw glowing eyes between the branches. Then came the footsteps, slow, deliberate, hooves sinking into soft mud. Yet no carabao or horse had ever roamed this deep into the hills. "It kept behind us," Miguel says, voice dropping to a whisper. "Always behind. We ran. God help me, we ran like boys." Ramiro didn't make it. When Miguel and the third man finally burst from the jungle at dawn, Ramiro was gone. All they found was his biwelo knife, slick with something black and thick as tar. The police wrote it off as an animal attack. But Miguel never returned to those woods. 4. Patterns in the darkness. Over the decades, reports have trickled in, always the same chilling themes: travelers lost on familiar paths, emerging days later in places miles away, unnatural laughter echoing in the treetops, even when no human presence is near, horse-like tracks in deep forest soil, in places no horse could tread. Modern skeptics argue these are fabrications, fueled by isolation, exhaustion, and the fever dream heat of the tropics. But when bodies vanish without a trace, when entire search parties return empty-handed, the doubt begins to rot like jungle fruit. And then there are the stories that never make the papers. Stories like the mountain bikers of 2008 who vanished near Mount Banahaw, their bikes later found twisted and hanging from trees, frames bent as though gripped by inhuman strength. Or the roadside vendor who swears she saw a man with a horse's head grinning at her from across the highway at midnight, teeth long and wet, before it melted into the shadows. Breaking the curse. Old lore insists the tikbalang can be outwitted. If you find yourself lost, stop. Remove your shirt. Turn it inside out. Some say this confuses the creature, breaking its hold over your sense of direction. Others say you must bite your thumb and whisper a prayer to the old gods. A few even claim you can tame the beast by braiding its mane, forcing it into servitude. But such tales are bait for the desperate, and the desperate rarely live long in the jungle. 6. The final account, 2016. The last story comes from a blog post, now deleted, written by a travel vlogger named Kai Domingo. He had gone off the beaten path near Baguio to capture authentic folklore vibes for his channel. What remains of his words is preserved through screenshots shared in online horror forums. He describes a trail that bent like a spiral, trees curling unnaturally, as if grown by design. His GPS went dead. His phone battery drained from 78% to 0 in minutes. Then came the smell, a stench like burning hair and wet copper. Kai heard hooves. Not running, walking. Slow. Heavy. Each step sinking deep into the earth. Then came the whistle, soft at first, rising into a shrill, mocking neigh that cut through the trees like a blade. His last line reads, "I can see it now. Too tall. Knees wrong. Head, oh God, the head. It knows my name." Kai was never found. Only his camera bag surfaced weeks later, its contents shredded as though by teeth that were never meant to eat. 7. Conclusion: a shadow that laughs. To the skeptic, the tikbalang is myth, a cultural echo of colonial warnings and pagan fears. To the believer, it is the jungle's vengeance, a spirit that preys on arrogance, luring the lost deeper until the forest swallows their screams. Whether demon, godspawn, or something nameless, one truth remains. When the mist coils low in the Philippine mountains, and laughter trembles through the leaves, do not follow it. Do not look back, and pray that the path you walk still exists. Section 7. The Ahul Wings in the Darkness. Prologue. The cry that shatters silence. In the stifling humidity of the Javanese jungle, sound behaves strangely. It doesn't travel so much as hang in the air, clinging like sweat to your skin. The cry of the gibbon echoes in the canopy. Cicadas scream from every branch, and water drips endlessly from leaves that never seem to dry. But sometimes, just sometimes, a sound rises above all that natural noise. A sound that doesn't belong. Ahul! The name of the beast is said to come from that cry. A deep, drawn-out screech that reverberates through the trees like a word uttered by something almost human. Those who hear it rarely stay to listen twice. The Ahul is not a creature that should exist. At least not in any rational world. Described as a giant bat with a wingspan stretching 10 feet across, a body the size of a small monkey, and eyes that glow crimson in the dark, it moves silently until it screams. And when it does, those who know the legend will tell you it's already too late. Origins of the Ahul. Folklore or forgotten predator. The name first appeared in recorded accounts in the early 20th century, when Dutch naturalist Dr. Ernest Bartels, son of famed ornithologist M.E.G. Bartels, claimed to have encountered the creature near a waterfall deep in West Java. According to his writings, the cry shattered the roar of cascading water, and as he turned, he saw something vast glide past him, its outline framed against the moonlit sky. He described a hairy, grayish body covered in fur, a flat face eerily reminiscent of a human, and wings that folded not like those of a bird, but a bat. His claws, he said, looked strong enough to rend flesh. Bartels later reported hearing it scream again, like the syllable Ahul, and thus the name was born. Locals, however, needed no such introduction. In Javanese folklore, stories of winged horrors predate Bartles by centuries. The jungle is alive with spirits, they say, and not all of them care to remain unseen. Eyewitness testimony, the missing fisherman. From folklore to flesh, the stories of the Ahul persist because people keep vanishing. In 1996, a fisherman named Suryanto disappeared while setting nets along the Sikasso River, near the thick rainforest foothills. His brother Arif was the last to see him alive. "We had camped by the river," Arif recalled. "The night was heavy, no stars, only the sound of the water. I woke when I heard something cry out, loud, like nothing I knew. It was not an owl, not a bat. It was a scream but stretched out. Ahul, like that." When he searched the riverbank with his flashlight, Arif saw footprints. Bare human-like feet, but far too large, and next to them the gouges of claws dragging through mud. There was no sign of Suryanto, only his overturned canoe. 2 days later, pieces of his torn fishing net were found high in the branches of a tree, 30 feet up, as if something had lifted it into the canopy. His body was never recovered. The anatomy of fear. What is the Ahul? Descriptions vary, but common details emerge. Wingspan, 8 to 10 feet. Face, flat, human-like, with a wide mouth and rows of teeth. Fur, gray to brown, shaggy, sometimes described as damp. Sound, a cry resembling Ahul, guttural and echoing. Behavior, nocturnal, swooping low over rivers, possibly feeding on fish, or something else. Some skeptics argue it's a misidentified giant bat, such as the Malayan flying fox, which can reach nearly 6 feet in wingspan. But locals insist that flying foxes don't make sounds like that, and they don't carry away grown men. Cryptozoologists have suggested other possibilities. A giant undiscovered species of bat, a relic pterosaur, or even an evolutionary throwback with traits of both primates and Chiroptera. Yet those who've heard the cry swear it's something worse, something that understands the weight of fear. Deep in the rainforest, the investigators descent. In 2013, cryptid researcher Jared Thompson traveled to West Java to document Ahul sightings. His recordings, later published in a fringe journal, detail his nights in the jungle. The forest is oppressive. After sunset, even the air feels alive. Every sound makes you doubt yourself. First, you think it's monkeys, then birds. But there's a moment, a lull between noises, when the jungle goes still, too still, and then you hear it. Jared claimed to have heard the Ahul 3 nights into his expedition. It came from the river. One cry, then another long, low guttural like a word. My guides froze. They wouldn't move, wouldn't speak. They just shook their heads and started praying. Later that night, Jared found deep claw marks in a tree trunk, 7 feet above the ground, and what he believed to be bat guano mixed with bones. Small bones, but also a fragment that looked disturbingly human. A piece of finger bone, bleached and brittle. The final tale, the guide who broke the silence. Every cryptid story needs a confession, a voice that shouldn't speak, but does. For the Ahul, that voice belonged to Hendra, a jungle guide who swore he'd seen the creature with his own eyes. It was 2 years ago. A man from the city hired me, said he wanted to photograph rare birds. We went deep past where even the hunters go. On the 3rd night, something took him. We were camping by the river. He was sleeping in his hammock. I woke up because the jungle was quiet, too quiet. Then I saw something move, big, like a shadow with wings. It came down fast, no sound except for the scream, Ahul! And then it was gone. Took him into the trees. When asked what he did next, Hendra lowered his voice to a whisper. I didn't follow. Nobody follows the Ahul. The legend lives on. The Indonesian rainforest is vast, a cathedral of green where secrets can hide forever. The Ahul could be a myth, a mistake, or something beyond classification. But the missing fishermen, the claw marks, and the voices of those who refuse to return, they tell another story. And if you ever find yourself in the jungles of Java, camped by a river under the velvet dark. Listen closely. When the forest falls silent and a cry splits the night, long, low, and echoing, run. Run before the wings close around you. Ahul! Section 8. The Wendigo, the Hunger That Walks. The wind howled through the skeletal pines, rattling branches like bones in a restless grave. Snow fell in heavy sheets across the desolate expanse of northern Minnesota, blotting out the moon and muffling every sound but the hiss of the storm. Somewhere out there, beyond the reach of the campfire's glow, something moved. It was slow, it was patient, and it was hungry. For centuries, the Algonquian-speaking tribes have whispered the name Wendigo, an evil spirit of winter, famine, and insatiable hunger. The name is a curse in itself, spoken only in hushed tones when the cold presses down hardest and food grows scarce. To see the Wendigo is to know death. To feel its hunger is to become like it, the legend that devours itself. Among the Ojibwe, Cree, and Innu, the Wendigo is not just a story, it's a warning. They say it begins with desperation. A family, snowbound and starving in a blizzard, faces the unthinkable. One among them crosses the line, consuming human flesh to survive. And in that moment, the Wendigo spirit enters them. It grows inside, stretching bone and sinew, warping the soul until the person is no longer human. They become gaunt, towering creatures with sunken eyes and jagged teeth. Skin stretched thin over bones like leather over kindling. Their lips rot away, their breath smells of carrion. Some say antlers burst from their skulls like a crown of the damned. But the most terrifying thing about the Wendigo is hunger never ends. The more it eats, the larger it grows, and the hungrier it becomes. A monster of famine that cannot be sated. A tale from the trees. In the winter of 1879, a trapper named Simon Keats disappeared near Rainy Lake, on the Minnesota-Ontario border. His cabin was later found in ruins. Doors torn from hinges, furniture splintered, blood splashed across the floor like spilled ink. There was no sign of Simon, save for a few scraps of clothing and a set of tracks leading deep into the woods. The sheriff who led the search, Albert Drennan, wrote in his report, "The prints were long and thin with claw marks at the toes. Too big for a man, too wide for a bear. They stretched on for nearly a mile before stopping in the middle of nowhere, as if whatever made them simply vanished into the storm." That same night, several Ojibwe hunters claimed they saw a figure watching from the treeline. A thing taller than any man, its body nothing but skin and bone, eyes glowing like embers in a dying fire. When they raised their rifles, it slipped away without a sound. Simon Keats was never found, but over the next 2 months, more trappers vanished. Each time, the snow bore the same strange marks. The Wendigo psychosis. Anthropologists and psychologists have long debated whether the Wendigo is more than myth. In the 1800s and early 1900s, cases of Wendigo psychosis were recorded among Algonquian communities, a condition in which individuals developed an intense craving for human flesh and a fear that they were turning into monsters. One of the most infamous cases occurred in 1878, when a Cree man named Swift Runner was executed for murdering and cannibalizing his family during a harsh winter. When questioned, he claimed an evil spirit had possessed him, whispering promises of meat in his ear until he broke. His crime fueled the legend, cementing the idea that the Wendigo is both a creature of the woods and a sickness of the soul. The modern hunts. Even in the 21st century, stories persist. Hunters in northern Canada report hearing whistles on the wind, strange voices calling their names from the forest at night. Snowmobilers find tracks in deep wilderness, tracks too large, too long, leading nowhere. In 2019, a group of winter campers near Lake Winnipeg claimed something circled their tents for hours, brushing against the fabric, leaving clawed prints in the snow. They fled at dawn, abandoning their gear. When they returned with authorities, the campsite looked as if a storm had hit, ripped tents, blood smeared across the snow, and a deer carcass torn apart just beyond the tree line. The prints? The same elongated, claw-tipped shapes from a century before. No wolf makes prints like that. An eyewitness account. The following is from an anonymous account posted on a survivalist forum in 2017. We were deep in the boundary waters, 6 days into a snowshoe trip. The cold was unreal, -30 at night. We'd set camp near a frozen lake. Around midnight, I woke to this sound, like something grinding its teeth. Peeked out of the tent, and there it was. I can't explain how tall it was, at least 7 or 8 feet, just standing there, hunched, staring. Skin pale as bone, ribs poking out like fence posts, and those eyes, glowing orange in the dark. This mouth was too wide, with teeth like needles. It didn't move, didn't make a sound. Couldn't even breathe. Then, in a blink, it was gone. No sound. No footsteps. Just the wind. The post ends with a single line. I don't camp in winter anymore. What the Wendigo wants. Some elders say the Wendigo is more than a beast. It's a spirit of greed, stalking those who take more than they need. Others believe it is famine itself, given flesh. Either way, the rules are simple. Never speak its name too loudly in winter. Never go into the forest alone. And if you hear your name whispered on the wind, run. Because once the Wendigo hungers for you, it will never stop. And when the snow falls heavy, and the trees creak under the weight of ice, remember this: the Wendigo is patient. The Wendigo waits. And sometimes the Wendigo wins. Section 9. The Brosno Dragon Terror Beneath the Ice. The lake lies silent, encased in an armor of ice. Beneath that frozen surface, something stirs. Something older than the Tsars, older than Russia itself. The locals call it Brosnya, the dragon of Lake Brosno. For centuries, its name has whispered through the northern forests of Tver Oblast, spreading fear with every ripple, every unexplained disappearance. The legends that refuse to die. Lake Brosno sits shrouded in mist and folklore, a brooding expanse of dark water in western Russia, measuring roughly 7 kilometers across and reaching depths rumored to be unfathomable. The lake has spawned tales as old as the Mongol invasions. The earliest whispers speak of a monstrous serpent that rose from the depths to devour entire horsemen, dragging warriors into the abyss during the 13th century when Bata Khan's horde swept across the land. The story goes like this. A detachment of Mongol warriors camped on the lakeshore, their horses drinking greedily after a long march. The night was eerily still, too still. Then the water boiled. A long, scaled body breached the surface, glistening in the firelight. With a sound like a roaring bellows, it struck. Warriors and steeds vanished beneath the black waves. Those few who escaped fled in terror, swearing they had seen the devil himself rise from the depths. For generations, peasants would refuse to fish the lake, believing it cursed. Orthodox priests tried to bless the waters, but the dragon lingered in local lore. In the Soviet era, talk of such superstition was discouraged. Yet sightings never stopped. In fact, they multiplied. 2. The wartime monster. During World War II, as Nazi forces approached, strange things were reported once again. Local legend insists that the Brosno dragon destroyed an entire German detachment, swallowing soldiers and their equipment. Some villagers claim they heard the shrieks of men and the grinding of metal as something colossal dragged a tank into the lake. Was this patriotic myth-making? Perhaps. But then came the divers. 3. Soviet expeditions and missing men. In the 1960s, Soviet scientists began investigating Lake Brosno under the guise of geological research. What they found or failed to find remains a mystery. Official records claim the lake bottom is a labyrinth of caves and sinkholes, making sonar readings unreliable. But whispers persist. Divers vanished during missions. Those who returned reported something moving in the darkness, something that stirred the silt and created currents strong enough to pull men down like rag dolls. One former diver, now an old man in Torshavn, gave a rare interview in the 1990s. We saw an eye, a golden eye big as a man's head. It blinked once, and then the silt rose like a storm. I've never felt fear like that. Not in the war, not anywhere. The official report? Equipment malfunction. 4. Anatomy of a nightmare. Eyewitness accounts describe the creature as a massive serpent or dragon-like beast, measuring between 16 to 30 feet long. with a head like a crocodile and jaws capable of swallowing a grown man. Some insist it has scales that shimmer silver under moonlight, others that its back bears jagged ridges like a row of black knives. But how could such a monster survive? Cryptozoologists theorize that Brosnia could be a plesiosaur, a relic of the Mesozoic era, preserved by the lake's cold, oxygen-poor depths. Others suggest it might be a gigantic pike or sturgeon, though locals laugh at that idea. No fish could roar, they say, and roar it does. The sound from below. One chilling consistency in modern reports is the sound. Witnesses describe a low, resonant bellow, like a foghorn echoing from beneath the ice. In winter, this sound carries through the forests, sending wolves running and birds exploding into the air. Some say it is the ice cracking, but old fishermen know the truth. Ice sings, they say, but it doesn't breathe. 6. The disappearance of Yuri Makarov. In 1996, a local man named Yuri Makarov vanished while ice fishing on Brosno. His sled was found. The hole in the ice widened into a jagged maw. Blood smeared the rim. The official explanation? Thin ice. But his wife swore he was careful. He had fished that lake for 20 years. A week later, another fisherman claimed to see something rise from the hole at dusk. A massive hump breaking the surface, trailing water like molten steel. When he told the police, they dismissed him as drunk. But 2 months later, he hung himself in his barn. 7. The lure of the abyss. Today, Brosno remains a place of dread. Tourists visit, eager for photos and folklore. But the locals? They keep their distance after dark. They know the rules. Never camp on the North Shore in spring. Never break the ice after sunset. And if you hear the lake breathing, run. For the dragon does not sleep. It waits, coiled in the lightless trenches, listening for footsteps, for voices, for the thrum of engines above. And when hunger calls, it rises. Some believe the Brosno dragon is a living fossil, a creature that time forgot. Others whisper it is something far older, a spirit of the deep, a demon wearing flesh and scale. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain. The lake keeps its secrets, and those who seek them rarely return. So the next time you stand at the edge of a dark Russian lake, remember, the surface is not silence. It is a door, and something is knocking from the other side. Section 10. Mokele-Mbembe, the last Leviathan. Opening invocation. The green maw. The Congo does not welcome you. It swallows. The river coils like an endless python, its surface dappled in broken sunlight that never seems to touch the bottom. Trees lean toward one another like conspirators, weaving a canopy so dense that the sky above becomes a rumor. The air is syrupy with humidity, each breath like drinking from a hot lung. The jungle hums, not with birds, but with the eternal drone of insects, like a million unseen teeth grinding in the shadows. Those who live here know better than to speak its name loudly. Mokele-Mbembe. They whisper it like an apology, like the breath before confession. To name it too boldly, they say, is to call its attention, and in these green-black waters, attention is death. In the villages along the Sunga River, the stories are the same. A beast with the body of an elephant and the tail of a crocodile, legs thick as tree trunks, a head like a serpent crowned with bone. It does not eat flesh, they say. It does not need to. When it moves, the river moves with it, and the forest stills as though struck dumb with fear. For centuries, the colonizers laughed. Then the missionaries. Then the scientists. All gone, or buried in the margins of yellow journals. What lingers are fragments. Ink and rumor, mud and blood. Historical fragments. Journal entry. Captain Jacques Dupré, 1776. Along the Liculia UX herbs. We camped on the bank, and my men were restless. They spoke of the river shaking without wind, as though a great barge passed below the surface. Yet there was no barge, nor any ripple to mark its hull. Then came the trumpet sound, not of any elephant, but long and deep, as though a horn sounded beneath the water. My interpreter fell to his knees. He said the name, but his lips trembled so that I scarcely heard it. Mokele-Mbembe. At dawn, one of the dugouts was gone. In the water, only bubbles rose where it had been, and a single paddle spun slowly in the current. We left before the river claimed more. Letter from Missionary Father Augustine Merritt, 1883. Extract from Correspondence to the Society of the Sacred Heart, Brazzaville. They will not let me speak of it. Even the catechists avert their eyes when I ask. Yet the catechumens whisper when they think I do not hear. They say it is older than the flood, older than Noah himself. That it survived the drowning of the world because the waters are its kingdom. I walked to the river to baptize 3 children, and the water seemed to pulse, yes, to throb, beneath my feet as though a heart beat in the depths. I confess, I looked into that current and saw no reflection of the sky, only a blackness without bottom. It was then I heard the reeds stir, and a sound rose from below, like the moaning of an organ pipe. The catechumens fled, screaming. I followed. I will not return to the river. Field Notes of Expedition Leader Ernst Wegener, 1924. Recovered from metal chest, rusted, Sunga tributary. The pygmies will go no farther. They speak of a demon beast that guards these waters. We saw tracks today. Round prints nearly 2 feet across, sunk deep in the mud where no elephant could tread. They led from the river into the swamp and beyond, God help us, back again. I have heard it, twice now. At night, when the mist rolls thick over the current, there comes a cry. No, a bellow low and sonorous, unlike anything I have heard, though it reminds me faintly of a bull alligator magnified 100-fold. When I dream, I see a shape beneath the water, sliding, immense. If I do not return, let this record stand. There is something here, something old. The chest was found 3 years later. Wegener's body never was. Modern descent. Expedition log. Dr. Martin Calder, Cryptozoological Institute of Geneva. Day 1 Imfondo Base Camp. They told me not to come. They all told me. Leave it in the realm of myth, they said. The Congo does not give up its dead, only makes more. But the reports kept surfacing. Tracks photographed in the mud, eerily consistent with descriptions centuries old. Villagers claiming their canoes were overturned by something vast. Western scientists dismiss them as always, but I know better. Legends do not last this long without bone beneath the flesh. Team assembled. Myself, herpetologist Dr. Mokele-Mbembe, field cameraman Alex Torres, and guide Joseph, Ngala tribesman, lean as a spear, eyes sharp as obsidian. He agreed only after tripling his fee and making me swear we'd leave the river before nightfall. He says no one who lingers after dark returns whole. The Sunga stretches ahead like a ribbon of tarnished bronze under a furnace sky. Tomorrow we go upriver. Day 3, Upper Sunga, 40 kilometers north. The forest has begun to feel predatory. At first, it was the sheer cathedral of green, the buttress giants of kapok trees. But now, the silence is wrong. Birds flit in the morning, but as we press deeper, their songs thin to nothing. Even the insects seem muted, as though the jungle is holding its breath. Joseph grows more agitated each day. He carves sigils into the gunnels of the dugout at night and mutters prayers when he thinks I do not listen. Rena laughs it off. Local superstition, she says, but I have begun to dream. Last night, water lapping against the hull, but when I leaned over, the river was still. Beneath the surface, a shadow uncoiled. A length without end, thicker than a tree trunk, sliding soundlessly. When I woke, my hands stank of mud. Day 4, the first sign. We found a clearing where the river bends around a spit of sand. There, in the churned mud, prints. Not hippo, not elephant. 4-toed, the size of a washtub, pressed so deep the ground seemed molded by a god's hand. Rena tried to explain it away. Elephant deformity, she said, though her voice lacked conviction. Alex filmed it in silence, his usual jokes strangled in his throat. Joseph refused to step onto the bank. We go, he said. Now. When I told him we needed samples, he stared at me with something like pity or hate. Day 5, the drums. I thought they were drums at first. Deep, resonant booms rolling through the water, spaced by long silences. Then I realized they came from below. The river trembled beneath us, not violently, but subtly, like a living muscle shifting in its sleep. Rena's face drained of color. She said nothing, only clutched the gunwale until her knuckles whitened. Joseph begged us to turn back. When I refused, he spat into the water, muttered something sharp and broken in Lingala, and would not meet my eyes again. That night we heard the cry. It came just before dawn, rolling across the water like thunder wrenched from the belly of the earth. A trumpet blast so low it made my bones ache. It did not fade. It dropped, sinking into a silence so complete the forest seemed to have died. Alex whispered, "Jesus Christ." No one corrected him. Expedition log, day 11. 14:32 p.m. Coordinates lost. The map is useless. The GPS beeps, blinks, and dies as if the satellites themselves refuse to see this place. The river has narrowed, choked by vines the color of rotting lungs. Shadows drape over the water like curtains of velvet rot. We keep paddling. The dugout creaks under our weight. The men, God, what's left of them, don't talk now. Even Jules, who never shut up about football scores and his wife's cooking, stares into the black mirror of the water with a slack jaw, as if expecting something to rise. The sound is the worst part. The rainforest should be loud. It should scream with life. But it isn't. There are no birds here. No insects. Even the frogs that chorused every night since Brazzaville have fallen silent. This stretch of the Sunga is deaf, blind, and godless. Something is following us. I don't mean that poetically. Every time the paddle dips, I hear it. A ripple behind us, heavier than any crocodile, deeper than the current. I glance back and the water is still. But then the dugout rocks slightly, just slightly, as if nudged by something vast under the surface. 14:57 p.m. Spotted something. A ridge, brown-gray, like wet stone, sliding beneath the current. The men freeze. No one breathes. It's gone as soon as it came. Jules whispers a word. I don't know it, but I hear the fear in it. Something between prayer and curse. We keep paddling. Expedition log, day 12. 6:10 a.m. No sleep. The night was, God, where do I start? We made camp along the riverbank. A small fire, as the locals taught us. Smoke keeps the spirits away, they said. Spirits. That's almost funny now. Around midnight, the jungle erupted. Not with screams, no, that would be merciful. It was a low trumpet sound, rolling and wet, like an elephant dying underwater. It shook the earth. The river trembled. Then came the smell. Rot, copper. The stench of graves after rain. Jules vomited until bile dripped from his chin. And the water, it wasn't still anymore. It boiled, silently, as if a giant beast exhaled beneath us. I didn't sleep. None of us did. Audio transcript, day 12, 8:23 a.m. Sound of paddling. Heavy breathing. Insects faint in background. Jules whispers, Mon Dieu, it's here. Margaret. Sharper. Shut up. Don't speak its name. Jules. You don't understand. Splash. Loud. Followed by screams. Recorder crackles. Unknown male. Something's under the boat. Christ, it's static. Cut off abruptly. That was the last time I heard Jules speak. Day 12 to 9:01 a.m. The dugout is gone. It didn't break. It didn't have time to. Something came from below and lifted it. I saw water explode around us like a grenade. Then teeth? No, not teeth. Something worse. Something that opened like a blossom of pale bone and pink sinew. 3 men didn't surface. Margaret and I clung to the roots of a strangler fig until our arms bled. The river stilled again, as if nothing happened. She won't look at me now. She just keeps muttering. It walked where no beast should walk. That was in the missionary's letter. Expedition log, day 13. We're walking. The jungle is thicker than fever dreams. Every vine a serpent. Every tree a ribcage. And behind it all, that smell. The grave stench growing stronger. Margaret has the rifle. She won't share it. Doesn't matter. I've seen what it can do. Bullets won't stop that. She says there's a village upriver. Refuge. I don't believe her. There are no villages here. Only shadows that breathe. Last night, I woke to the sound of footsteps in the water. Slow. Deliberate. Something heavy wading through the shallows, circling. I didn't look. God help me, I didn't look. Journal fragment, Margaret's hand. Found smeared with blood on page edges. It's not a dinosaur. God forgive me, I wanted it to be. Something left over from Eden, something we could name, tag, mount in the halls of science. But no, this thing, it thinks. It waits. It herds us like cattle through this green hell. Last night, I heard it breathe my name. The final night. The river opens before us like a black throat. The moon is a slit of bone above the canopy. We find an old missionary post. Just 3 walls of rot and a crucifix gnawed by termites. We make a fire. We burn everything, maps, gear, even the camera housings. Margaret says fire is the only thing it fears. I don't believe her. But the light feels less cruel than the dark. Then the water moves. Not ripples. A swell. Like the river itself rising to look at us. Margaret lifts the rifle. Her hands shake so bad the barrel jerks like a compass needle near a magnet. The smell hits first, rot and iron and something older than meat. Then comes the shape. Oh God, it's not what I thought. It's worse. It has a body like an elephant, but scaled like a serpent, glistening with river slime. Its neck arches like a question mark over the trees. Eyes the size of lanterns, glowing with some fevered light. And the mouth. Jesus, the mouth splits its head like a wound, lined not with teeth but with ribs, white and slick, opening and closing like fingers. It steps onto the bank. The ground shakes. Roots tear like veins. Margaret fires. Once, twice. The bullets vanish into that wet armor like pebbles into tar. The head dips low. The mouth opens. And in the last light of the fire, I see bones, not its own. Human bones. Hung like charms inside its maw. Margaret screams something, maybe my name. Then the jaws close. Final page, half burned. Charred at the edges. If anyone finds this, turn back. The river is a grave. The jungle is its keeper. And the beast is not alone. There were others in the water tonight. I heard them, trumpeting in the dark. They are calling to each other. The journal ends here. 2 weeks later, a survey team found the camp. No bodies, just a burned crucifix and the smell of rot that lingered for days after they left. Locals refuse to speak of it. They only point to the river and say, "The water remembers."